Thanks for tuning in to From the Dailies on Equa Television, a program where we review stories making headlines on our national and international papers. I am Owolabi Tosin and I'll be reviewing papers alongside Lois Turaki. Good morning, Lois.
Good morning, Tosin.
Good morning. You look good. How is the weather this morning?
Very cold.
Very cold. So you need something warm to keep yourself warm. And in case you are in Jos Plateau State, try to keep yourself warm from the cold weather. And we have a whole lot of papers to review this morning, and we will be starting with the Daily Independent. Lois?
Yes, from the Daily Independent, we have the big story says Electoral Act Amendment Bill. PDP governors urge NAS to override Buhari or delete grey areas. The writer says demand decentralization, restructuring of security architecture. APC convention, pressure mounts on Buni Ayatollah to resign from caretaker committee. 2023, Bajabia Mila wants education qualifications for presidential candidates. Others review upwards. If you're interested in this story, you can find it on page 29 of the Daily Independent newspaper. 2023 Presidency Middle Belt Forum alleges plot to frustrate power shift. You can find the story on page 7. Soaring food prices push inflation to 15.63 in December. APC crisis deepens as PGF DG resigns. You can find this story on page 29. Arikbe Shola orders officers to shoot dead prison attackers. The story can be found on page 6. Banditry in Zamfara, lucrative venture for politics, says governor. On health, COVID-19, FCTA shuts out unvaccinated staff and visitors. You can find the story on page 29 of the Daily Independent newspaper. Tosin,
moving to the Daily Sun newspaper, thanks Lois. We have federal government files fresh charge against Nnamdi Kanu. The writer says group demands his unconditional release. I'm talking about the story here. We have the Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government has filed fresh terrorism allegations against the detained leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. Reports that the federal government filed the amended process before the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja on Monday. The government increased the count in the initial charge it preferred against Nnamdi Kanu. The IPOB leader, who was facing a 7-count treasonable felony charge, will now enter his fresh plea to a 15-count amended charge marked, which says FHC/ABJ/CR/383/2015 and signed by the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP MB Abubakar. The federal government amended the charge barely 24 hours to the scheduled commencement of hearing by Trial Justice Binta Nyako. Still on the Daily Sun, editors take self-scrutiny town hall meeting to Kano, and federal government orders shoot on site for prison attackers. The big story says Budge IT exposes fraud in 2022 budget. The rider lists 460 duplicated projects worth 378.9 billion naira, and budget padding in National Assembly function of action in Aso Rock, says Anyim, ex-Senate President. Nigeria will break if power remains in the north, coming from the Middle Belt Forum. And on 2023 presidency, I'm not afraid of other aspirants, coming from Umahi, with details in page 6. And PDP governors urge National Assembly to override Buhari's veto on electoral bill. The rider says insists Jonathan handed $550 billion economy to APC government in 2015. And 2023, women groups to stage 1 million man march for Kogi governor in Abuja, with details in page 28 of the Daily Sun newspaper. And we have two picture story here. The first, we can see the chairman All Progressive Congress APC Governor Forum and Governor of Kebbi State Atiku Bagudu, flanked by other governors, addressing journalists after the forum's meeting in Abuja. And another picture story we can see from the left, Governor Samuel Otom, that's the Benue State Governor, Darius Ishaku, the Governor of Taraba State, and Doye Diri, the Governor of Bayelsa State, Ahmed Fintiri, the Governor of Adamawa State, and Aminu Tambal of Sokoto State, the Nyesom Wike, Governor of Rivers State, Ifeanyi Okowa, the Governor of Delta State, Seyi Makinde, that of Oyo State, Ifeanyi Ogwanye of Enugu, and Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State at the People's Democratic Party PDP Governors Forum meeting in Port Harcourt, Rivers State yesterday. And those are all the news making headlines on the Daily Sun newspaper.
Going next to the Nation newspaper, it says witness relieves siege to Justice Odili's home. Right, it says 3 suspects granted bail. We lost 58 people, not 200, to bandits attacks, says governor. The details can be found on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Inflation rate rises from 15.4% to 15.63%. Kanu faces 8 new terror charges as trials resumes. The big story says APC committee to release convention guidelines today. And the writer says Buni briefs president on date, party to decide mode of primary. Override Buhari's veto on electoral bill, PDP governors urge lawmakers. And 2023, why Tinubu deserves APC presidential ticket by Shetima and others. The last story says Wike's presidential posters flood Abuja, and 110 billion naira for Igbo presidential projects. Those are all the stories you can find on the Nation newspaper.
Thank you, Lois. Moving to Nigerian Tribune. Trial of 15 suspects in Odili's home raid begins. The rider says 3 suspects granted 5 million naira bail each. And police Amotekun after criminals on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, with Gani Adams seek police cooperation with Southwest Security Network. After 8 months, inflation rate rises to 15.63%, and school certificate requirements too low for position of president and governor, coming from Bajabiamila. And the story, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Bajabiamila, has advocated a review of the minimum educational requirements necessary to become the president of Nigeria. According to him, the senior secondary school certificate or its equivalent as currently required by the Constitution is too low. Bajabiamila therefore called for a constitutional review by the National Assembly to raise the academic qualification requirements for the position of president and other elective offices in Nigeria, as it will strengthen the nation's democratic process. The reports the Speaker made his view known on Monday while speaking at the convocation ceremony of the University of Lagos. I also sincerely believe that the National Assembly needs to look into Section 131D of the 1999 Constitution with a review to increasing the minimum educational qualification for persons aspiring to be future presidents of Nigeria and other top offices, including the National Assembly, as against the current minimum requirement of a secondary school certificate or its equivalent, Bajabiamila said. As we have reduced the age of eligibility to contest those offices, so also we should increase the minimum educational requirement. It will be another step in reforming our electoral system and providing strong leadership for the country. Section 131D of the 1999 Constitution states that a person shall be qualified for election to the office of the president if he has been educated up to at least school certificate level or its equivalent. However, for review of the Constitution to be done as proposed by the Speaker on the minimum, members of 24 state houses of assembly out of the 36 2/3 must support it. An act of the National Assembly for the alteration of this Constitution, not being an act to which Section 8 of this Constitution applies, shall not be passed in either house of the National Assembly unless the proposal is supported by the votes of no less than 2/3 majority of all the members of the House and approved by resolution of the House of Assembly of not less than 2/3 of all the states and the Constitution. Still on Nigerian Tribune newspaper, presidency not bricklaying exercise, Shetima replies Tinubu's critics, with details in page 22. And the big story says federal government files fresh 15-count charge against Kanu. And for cholera outbreak, Nigeria recorded 3,604 deaths and 11,062 cases in 2021. Coming from NCDC, kidnappers abduct another Plateau monarch, demands 10 million naira. Why banditry will not end soon in Zamfara. Coming from Zamfara State Governor, and Arebe Shola to officers, shoot dead any prison attackers. And convention will hold February, APC governors. The rider says, pass vote of confidence in Buni CECPC Governors Forum. DG resigns, with details in page 22 and page 23 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. The last story on the paper we have Electoral Act Amendment. PDP governors urge National Assembly to override President's veto. And that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune newspaper.
Okay, moving on to Daily Trust. Cholera killed 3,604 in 33 states, FCT, in 2021. This is coming from NCDC. Federal government raises charges against Kanu from 7 to 15. Still on the Daily Trust newspaper, Shetima to Buhari, it's payback time for Tinubu. Inflation rises to 15.63% after 8-month deadline. Banditry, police confirm 2 soldiers, 1 cop, 13 others killed in Kebbi State. Sit-at-home order, gunmen attack traders in Enugu. The big story says fresh dust over electoral bill as National Assembly resumes today. The writer says PDP governors ask lawmakers to override Buhari, remove direct primaries, other contentious clauses, CSOS. Will consider all options, parliamentarians. The other big story says pay us 24 million naira or we attack you, terrorists raid 9 Zamfara communities. Matawale meets Buhari, says banditry won't end soon. I just wonder that after the declaration of bandits as terrorists, I still see a lot of things. I've read a lot of things happening in Zamfara state, as in talking about activities of the bandits, and now they are saying they want 24 million naira or they attack 9 communities in Zamfara state. And according to Matawale, he said 2 local governments in the areas are the most hot spots of the banditry, that's Shinkafi and Zumi local government areas. I thought after declaring all these people as terrorists, more attention should be sent to these hotspot areas that the bandits have attacked the most, to see how they can cope this situation, deal with these bandits, and then see how all these things can reduce to the minimum level, so people can live normal lives. We're talking of going to the farm, living a normal life, and then these bandits are coming out. They're even giving the governor 24 million naira to pay them, or else they attack. It's just something I don't even understand it.
Lois, we still have another community where they demand petrol from people living in that community. You can imagine bandits having that guts in different places. In a country where we have the security sectors, we have the military, we have the police, we have the civil defense. But you can imagine the way bandits who live in a community will take over communities from people and have the guts to demand from such people and even demand from the government. And now looking at this issue, Governor Matawale met with the president on issue of insecurity in the state, and the president have given a go-ahead that they are going to tackle the issue of insecurity. We still had same issue also in Niger State, where insecurity is taking charge, and the president has given go-ahead that they should take charge, they should shoot and cite those people that are disrupting the peace of such community. Lois, we still had yesterday, we recorded that at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, bandits, kidnappers have taken charge of this express. And the good news that this morning we had that they've deployed the security sectors, the police, the military, and even the state police, and that's the Amotekun. They are taking charge of those locality and those places. This is where we talk about state policing, because the police cannot do this on their own. They have other responsibilities to meet. Definitely, securing lives and properties should be the first, but they have other things they need to discharge, other duties they need to discharge. When we have state policing, they will help, and they work hand in hand with the security sectors in tackling all these places. Because when you look at bandits, they go out to places, locality, they use the routes that people are not used to. That's where they used to invade, and they use that to disrupt the peace in such communities. If we have the state policing, definitely when you look at the state policing, those people are deployed. They are people of that local area, and they know the different routes in that community. They can work hand in hand, give them information if they are hearing anything. Just yesterday again, we had that even the streams are no longer safe for people. Where you go fetch your water for your day-to-day activities, they are no longer safe because of kidnapping, because of banditry activities. Now looking at in Borno State, where 2 local governments have been it's used by the bandit, looked by Boko Haram people. They've taken 2 local governments in a country where we have the police, in a country where we have the military, and looking at Borno State is now the headquarters for the Nigerian army. Then what are we doing? We should not just fold our hands and look at these people, because they are going through a whole lot. Having a community where these people have take charge and demand so many things from these people, even if they go to their farm, even if they are safe to go to their farm, even the farm produce will be collected by these people, and their children are no longer safe because their girls are being raped, women are being raped, and also the girls are being married. These people marry them forcefully. Imagine ladies of young age being married to these people. You can imagine what they are going through, from the parents down to the children. So we just hope that the military will intervene in this situation, just as they've intervened in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. We hope that there will be intervention, and since the president have given go ahead for them to shoot at sight and also take charge of these communities and of these people. We just hope that we will have a positive outcome concerning the issues being resolved concerning the people and this insecurity and insurgency. We just look out for a day where insecurity will be wiped out from this country so that everyone can live a normal life.
Yes, we just call on the government to put more effort in tackling this insecurity situation, because the Zamfara State people are in deep what's the word now? They are in deep peril because of the insecurity issues in the country, and it's rising day by day. I was just thinking about it, like 24 million naira for what would they do with it if not buy more weapons for them to do more attacks in those communities. I just hope that the military personnel and other security agencies will up their game and do what they are supposed to do so that these issues can be tackled.
Lois, and even in Plateau State, again, a monarch was abducted just yesterday, and 10 million naira is being demanded from his family. So not just Zamfara State alone, we have it in almost all the states. Insecurity is eating deep, and we need to look into this issue of insecurity.
Well, that's all the story from Daily Trust.
And looking at Al Jazeera newspaper, the big story says PDP governors to the National Assembly override Buhari on electoral bill amendment. The rider says process vital for credible elections, and Ekiti Congress's committee submits report. Prioritize electoral bill upon resumption. CSO urge National Assembly. And Northern leaders demand release of Leah Sharibu and others. And an editorial here which says need to implement COVID-19 vaccination tactfully. And here we have X-raying Nigerians' drive towards rice sufficiency. Bandits raid Niger communities, demand petrol. And the news here on Akwa Ibom, protesters accuse monarch of using cultists to impose levy. And on cholera outbreak, NCDC record 3,604 deaths and 111,062 cases in 2021. I take it again, NCDC records 3,604 deaths and 111,062 cases in 2021. And on business, federal government to borrow 471 billion naira from capital markets in first quarter. While on sports, 2021 AFCON, no reason to underrate Guinea-Bissau, coming from Iguavon. And that's all the news on Al Jazeera newspaper.
Voice of Liberty newspaper, it says, pay us or die, terrorists threaten 9 Zamfara communities. Banditry in state now a lucrative business for politicians. This is coming from Governor Matawale. APC Governors Forum DG Salihu Lukman resigns. APC to set up zoning panel ahead of convention, coming from sources. Ohanaeze shortlist Amechi pledges 10 billion naira for Igbo presidency. On Electoral Act, CSOs give Buhari NAS ultimatum to pass amendment bill into law. Override Buhari's veto or delete areas of complaints, PDP tells lawmakers. A coalition of leading civil society organizations, CSOs, working for the perfection of the electoral system in Nigeria have urged the legislature and President Muhammadu Buhari to conclude the process of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill by January 31st. The CSOs who made their appeal yesterday in Abuja during a news conference also said that any further delay on the conclusion of the Electoral Act amendment process was inimical to the preparations for Ekiti and Osun States off-cycle governorship elections, the 2023 general election and future elections in Nigeria. This is coming from the CSOs. Still on the Voice of Liberty newspaper, police foil kidnap attempt of 16 victims in Kaduna. This is coming from the spokespersons. Nigeria's inflation rate rises to 15.63% NBS. The last story says IPOB FG files fresh terrorism charge against Nnamdi Kanu, amends charge from 7 to 15. This is all the new stories on Voice of Liberty newspaper.
Thank you. Moving to the Punch newspaper. National Assembly under fire as Budge IT uncovers 378.9 billion naira duplicated projects. Prison attackers must live to tell story, Arebeshola tells NCOS officials. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Arebeshola, has directed operatives of the Nigerian Correctional Center to shoot dead anyone who attempts to attack the facility in the country. The former governor of Osun State stated this while inspecting the facility at the Akudi Custodial Center, Ibadan. According to Arebeshola, officers must make it difficult for criminals to gain access to the facility because it's a red zone. He further stated that an attack on the correctional center is an attack on the state, and such must never be allowed again. Still on the Punch newspaper, Dailies house invaders land wrong address on search warrants by magistrates, and this is coming from the policemen. Chinese company dominates Nigerians 10.5 trillion naira railway project, says Fitch report, with details in page 19. And the big story says National Convention, APC governors propose February 26. Musa Al-Makura lead in party chair race. The rider, February still realistic. Caretaker panel will announce exact date, says forum. And party looking towards defunct CPC members to occupy chairmanship seat. PDP governors lampoon Buhari on economy. Others ask National Assembly to override President on Electoral Act bill. With the rider, National Assembly may override Buhari's assent, says Senate chairman. National Assembly workers, falls, dies, colleagues suspect cardiac arrest. Lois, people are going through a whole lot. You can see a worker here who fell and died while at work, and his colleagues are suspecting cardiac arrest. People are going through a whole lot. That's why, as an individual, as much as you can, you should live at peace with all men, and also try to be a person of positivity. Try to give out soothing words. If you don't have the right words for people, it's better you just keep quiet, because there are times where people say a whole lot of things to you. It just arouses the problems you are going through. It makes you start thinking. It lands people into depression, just what people say. So as much as you can, it's better off to live in peace with others. And if you see a colleague or a friend or even a neighbor or a family friend in a depressed state, you should be the person to bring peace to such person. With the little way you can, just put smiles on people's faces, because even with the economy challenges, even with the stories people are hearing every day from our papers, what you are watching on TV, people are just going through a whole lot. So as an individual, even as a Christian, the little way you can, put smiles on people's faces.
That's very important. And you know that we have to eat healthy as well. Eat good balanced diet. Check yourself regularly. Check with your doctor. So most times we are kind of not up to date with our health. This thing, when sometimes you're not feeling very well, you don't check with your physicians, you just go on with your daily life and you think everything is okay. But most people just fall and die just like that without people really knowing what it is that killed them. So most times we should check with our physicians and see how we can keep ourselves healthy every day.
Definitely. And still on the Punch newspaper, 600 women group converge in Abuja for Bello's presidential bid. Ekiti court sentences dismiss soldiers, orders to death for armed robbery. And P&ID bribe. EFCC amends charges. Ministry ex-legal director remanded. Hoodlum in army uniform kidnaps 7 wedding guests in Ogun. Demand 60 million naira ransom. Details can be found in page 4 and pages 5 of the Punch newspaper. The last story on the Punch newspaper, Oyo panel combs settlements as Lassa fever spreads, kill residents. And those are all the stories on the Punch newspaper.
Moving on to This Day newspaper. This Day recognizes editorial board, appoints Adio Jega contributing editors. Wambuke Kakanda, Ademolekun and others join. Oil price soars to 7-year high, surges near $87. You can find the story on page 5 of This Day newspaper. PDP governors wants National Assembly to quickly rework electoral bill and return for assent. The writer says tell Nigerians to massively register with INEC, lament rising insecurity. The big story says Matawale banditry not ending in Zamfara anytime soon. The writer says alleges insiders sabotage negotiation with criminals. Promises to name terrorism collaborators put recent casualties at 58. Terrorists have dislodged many villages in Katsina, says Masari. You can find the story on page 10 of This Day newspaper. NSSF partners NPHCDA to vaccinate 1.6 million persons in 3 months. And the last story here says it is time. Nigerians call on Osinbajo to run for president.
Thank you, Lois. Before we move to the next paper, we'll be going on this timeout. And after the timeout, our phone lines will be open for your contribution. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying tuned. It's the program from the Dailies on Equa Television, and this is a time where our phone lines will be opened and displayed right on your screen. Do well to call us to talk about stories that interest you on the papers we are reviewing. I'm still in the studio with Lois Turaki. I'm Uwola Bitosin, and looking at the next paper, we have we have the Vanguard Newspaper. And here on the Vanguard Newspaper, the first story says PDP governors slam federal government's federation account remittance. And an audit report says complete MDAs to appear before us, Senate tells Buhari. And Ambazuki Amici cries foul as IPOB grounds Southeast. And on 2023's will repackage Electoral Act Amendment Bill and address errors coming from the National Assembly. Inflation trend reverse rises to 15.6%. And on the story of the inflation and the rising, we have the inflation rate in Nigeria has increased to 15.63% according to the latest data released on Monday by the National Bureau of Statistics based on the Consumer Price Index. According to the Bureau, the figure, which stood at 15.40% previously as of November 2021, increased by 0.23% to now stand at 15.63% for December 2021. According to the NBS report, the CPI measured the average change over time in the prices of goods and services consumed by people for day-to-day living. The construction of the CPI combines economic theory, sampling, and other statistical techniques using data for other survey to produce a weighted measure of average price changes in the Nigerian economy. And the big story on the Vanguard says convention split persists as APC governors back Buni. Division consumes PGF DG Salihu Lukman, and Buni briefs Buhari as CECPC meets today. Tinubu's men converge on Abuja Express readiness for 2023 battle, and Buni's CECPC has weakened APC, says ex-SGF Babachir Lawal. Those attacking Asiwaju are afraid of his profile coming from Shetima, and 600 women group storms Abuja for Yaya Bello. Stop overheating policy. APC ex-deputy publicity scribe warns presidential aspirants. I take it, stop overheating policy. APC ex-deputy publicity scribe warns presidential aspirants. Why banditry won't end soon, coming from Governor Matawale, with details in page 4. And bandit asks 9 Zamfara villages to pay 24 million naira or be attacked. Public office elections. Possession of school certificates no longer feasible, coming from Bajabia Mila. And how phone calls aborted illegal attempt to search Justice Odili's home, coming from a witness. And gunmen kill 2 soldiers, police 13 others abduct gunmen kill 2 soldiers, policemen 13 others abduct many in Kebbi. And that's all for the Vanguard newspaper.
Moving on to this Nigerian newspaper. Electoral Act Bill veto Mr. President. PDP governors tell NAS. The Governors Forum has urged the National Assembly to immediately conclude issues surrounding the Electoral Act Amendment Bill by overriding President Muhammadu Buhari's veto. The forum made the call in a communique at the end of its meeting on Monday in Port Harcourt. In the communique read by its chairman and governor of Sokoto State, Alhaji Aminu Tambuwal, the governor said that overriding Buhari's veto will quicken resolution of the issue and not provide the president another opportunity to delay signing of the bill by withholding assent again. The forum deplored the unabating insecurity and economic crisis plaguing the country, pointing out that all economic indices bequeathed to the ruling All Progressives Congress APC by the PDP in 2015 had collapsed. The communique reads, The PDP Governors Forum congratulated the entire PDP family for conducting a smooth and successful national convention that led to the emergence of the highly acclaimed Senator Iochia Ayu-led National Executive Committee. The forum commended the new PDP National Working Committee for hitting the ground running with respect to repositioning the PDP as credible party for the rescue and rebuilding of Nigeria, which has been battered by bad economy, insecurity, unemployment, and other social ills hoisted on citizens by the incompetent and inept APC administration. The PDP government requested the National Assembly to quickly conclude deliberation on the Electoral Act amendment, either by overriding the president's veto or delete the areas or complaints. The PDP have complained a lot about the APC administration, saying from the exchange rate, which was 198 naira to a dollar, while now during the APC regime is 500 per dollar, and then $550 billion strong economy, the largest in Africa 2015. Now unemployment rate was 7.3%.
We hear things like this coming up from opposition parties just in a bid for them to be elected into such position. And even you look back into history, when the PDP were in power, we still had challenges, and the APC used that challenges against them. And now they are in power, and we can see everything glaring and open for people to see. So this is time for us to use the power we have, because 2023 is just by the corner. We should not say it's still far. 2023, use the power you have. Use your voter's card wisely. You should not sell your vote to anyone. Know that that is the power you have to bring in the right government and to kick out the wrong government. So we should use our voters our voters card wisely. It is the power we have in our hands.
We still urge Nigerians to, for those that have not registered for their PVC, they should try and do so that you will be able to exercise your franchise coming 2023, so that we can see how things can get better and then how we can live better lives. Still on this Nigerian newspaper, APC crisis, DG Governors Forum, Lukman resigns. If you're interested in this story, you can find it on page 5 of this day Nigerian newspaper. Rising banditry, no end in sight, Matawale cries out. The writer says, blames political saboteurs for worsening situation in Zamfara, confirms 58 killed in recent attacks. Federal government files fresh terrorism charges against Kanu. The last story says Yuletide spending pushes inflation up to 15.63% in December. This is all the stories on this day Nigerian newspaper.
Thank you. On the Guardian newspaper, NSF lead campaign against vaccine hesitancy with 1.6 million jabs in 3 months. Electoral Act amendment, we have override Buhari's veto or delete direct primaries. PDP governors tells National Assembly. The rider says lament state of insecurity, poor strategies to tackling menace, and CSOs urge National Assembly to retransmit bill before Friday, asks Buhari to assent within 1 week. We will aggregate opinions from consultations with constituents, says Senate leaders. And PGF-DG resigns over APC convention. Governors reaffirm February date. Jupiter Investment engages the Garden to promote high-end real estate in Lagos. Ohaneze Ndigbo woes north to support bid for 2023 presidency, and Ubani sues federal government, orders over forced vaccination of civil servants. Federal government amends Kanu charge to 15 counts. And the last story on the Garden says hard choices for monetary authority as inflation rises. That's all on the Garden newspaper.
Moving on to First News newspaper, APC chair Al-Makura Musa in hot contest as governors propose February 26th for convention. Villages and their... Okay, I take that again. On the big story, ransom for peace, bandits now levy Zamfara villages. The writer says, right 9 communities, your anti-attack levy due for payment this month. No end in sight to banditry, Matawali laments. In Imo, gunmen behead 65-year-old man, hang head in school premises. Wajabia Mila Falls School cert least qualification for electoral offices. Nnamdi Kanu, Monday sit at home observed in Southeast. Concern for little Kikiora girl without anus. Excrete through...
Sorry, Lois, to cut you short. We have a caller from Yola. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, we can hear you. Good morning.
Lois Rocky.
Yes, this is Lois Rocky.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good
Am I
morning.
speaking with Lois
Yes, you are.
Rocky?
Yes, yes, you are.
I can hear you. Bye.
Please move away from your TV set and go straight to the
I have some
point.
comments here. I wanted to speak with you.
Go on.
I have moved away.
You can go
hear
straight
you.
to the point.
Can you hear me well now?
Yes.
Huh? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can go on with what you have to say,
Very
please.
good. We are talking about Nigeria. Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
We are talking about Nigeria. I don't know if we have any Nigeria, if we have any government in Nigeria. We have any government in Nigeria? The banditries are everywhere. In Nigeria, we have bandits demanding petrol. And in Zamfara, 24 million naira for 9 villages to be rescued. And now the government have declared banditry as terrorism.
So you can move away from your TV set.
Yet there was no action that have been taken. I don't know what the government is doing. Hoodlums are in Ogun uniform, kidnapping wedding guests, and demanding 60 million.
Thank you for your contribution. Still talking about issue of banditry. You can see a caller lamenting on the whole issues we've stated, whole issues we've read about insecurity. We just need the intervention of the military, we need the intervention of the police, and also if they can adopt the state policing to look into this issue, to help the police, help the military, help the different sector of the military in working hand in hand to comb all those places where these terrorists are have invaded and where they are resided, because it's really a sad thing to look at how terrorists have taken local governments from a state and the governments are not doing anything, and the president is not saying anything concerning them, although he has given the go-ahead to tackle this issue. But giving the go-ahead is not enough. Do the military have the enough equipment to fight this insurgency? We have Pastor Abraham. Good morning. Good morning, Pastor Abraham.
Hello?
Good morning.
We can hear you.
Tosin and Lois, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
I just want to contribute on the issue banditry.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Some time ago, we have information from UAE, from Dubai, that some people are sponsoring terrorists in this country. And if terrorism will come to an end in this country, we have to tackle it from the root. That is, if some people are sponsoring terrorism and the people are not being exposed, they are not being dealt with, there is no way terrorism will stop. Now, for instance, the federal government has amended the charges against Nnamdi Kanu, that charging him for terrorism. If government also go ahead and ensure that people that are sponsoring terrorism, they are arrested, they are prosecuted, then we cannot talk of ending terrorism. And prosecuted, there is no way terrorism will come to an end, because these people are being sponsored. Look at it now, they have taken over the whole northwest, taken over the whole northeast, taken over the north central. Now it has spread even to southwest. So it is until these people are arrested, those that are sponsoring them, they must be dealt with. Until then, there is no way terrorism will stop. So the government should be prepared, should be ready to fight terrorism in sincerity and in reality.
Thank you, Pastor
That's my
Abraham.
contribution.
Thank you very much. Still on issue of insecurity, just last year 2021 we had the European Union, they released the names of 6 Nigerians that are sponsoring terrorism, and still on this issue, if we can't tackle it on the surface alone, we have to deal with it from the root, and those names were just swept under the carpet, and now we can see that we are wailing and lamenting on issue of insecurity, issue of terrorism. We need to deal with this issue from the grassroots. If not, it will continue to give birth to other issues in our country. We need to tackle this issue from the roots, just to kick against insecurity and terrorism practices.
And you can see now the list of villages and their monthly levies that they pay to these bandits. Yergalma has 5 million, Nanarki has 5 million, Ruwankura has 5 million naira, Wawan Ichen Ibrahim has 4 million, 1.5, 1 million, 1 million, 1 million, and 500,000. You see all these things. These are all ways of enhancing these people to continue what they are doing. So if only the military and other our other security agencies do what they are supposed to do, the president has given the go-ahead. Why not tackle this thing, face it, and let people live their normal life? That's just the only way. If not, we'll keep complaining and wallowing in our anguish. I just hope that something will be done.
People need to live their normal life. Thank you, Lois, for going through this ride with me. With any words for our viewers?
I just want to say that the best preparation for tomorrow starts today. So do something and be fruitful.
Yes, be fruitful and also bloom wherever you are planted. Have a good day, and on behalf of all the staff of Equa TV, we say thanks for watching.